Public comment.
I will now call to order the March 21st, 2023 regular school board meeting of the Stanwood-Camano School District Board of Directors. We do have one student advisor that is running a little late. All other board members are here except Director Evans, who has been excused. Today, we are offering two opportunities for the public to speak. Comments specific to the consent agenda will be allowed prior to the vote on those items. Citizens will have submitted a request to speak either here in person or online during the public comment section of the agenda. Will be called upon to make their comments at that time, which is near the end of the meeting. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag. The agenda before you was the March 21st regular school board director or school board meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Director Schreiber and seconded by Director Hoagland. All in favor of approving the agenda for March 21st, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. Approval of minutes for March 7th, 2023, regular school board meeting. You have these meetings before you. Are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Is there a motion? Second. Motion, excuse me. Motion approved by Director Bays and seconded by Director Hoagland. I have to apologize. This is my very first meeting running the actual meeting, so please bear with me.
You're doing great.
So all those in favor of approving the minutes for March 7th regular school board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those pass unanimously. Before you have the minutes of the March 7th, 2023 study session, are there any changes or corrections to those minutes? Is there a motion to approve those minutes for the study session? Second. Moved by Director Schreier and seconded by Director Hoagland. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes unanimously also. We will now move on to the superintendent report.
You're doing a great job. We're going to start off with our monthly financial report, and that will be done by Ruth Floyd. And Ruth,
good evening. Our financial report for February, we have on the executive summary here, we are halfway through our fiscal year. Student enrollment FTE was 4,641, 100 FTE higher than in February 2022, a year ago. We're funded on annual average FTE, which is currently 25 FTE above budget. And the annual average enrollment increased in February because of inclusive transitional kindergarten students starting their new ITK program here at the district. State apportionment revenues were paid at 9%. The cumulative apportionment payments through February is 48.5%. Payroll costs as a percent of budget are higher than this time last year, and then MSOP costs are lower. That is reflective of the cost saving measures we've implemented this year. The manager's report also reflects a lower percent of budget spent compared to last year, which reflects again those cost reductions that we've been making. Page 3, fund balance. General fund balance in February was $7.2 million, $800,000 less than in January, and $1.2 million less than the prior year February. And then on our object summary report, in general fund, salaries and benefits represent 90% of total spending through February, a higher percentage than this time last year. It was about 88%. And then MSOP productions is lower, as we discussed earlier. And then the next few pages are the budget status reports for our 5 funds. First is general fund, which we have discussed previously. And page 7, capital projects fund balance decreased from January due to some invoices that we received. Unusual equipment line there. Those are technology purchases out of our capital cap and tech levy. And then page 9, debt service fund. The large payment on our debt was made in the prior month, so the balance has changed very little. It's at 900,000 this month, and we don't expect that to change much for the rest of the year until we have another debt payment in June. And then page 10 is our ASB fund, as well as page 11, our transportation vehicle fund balances. Those were also stable compared to the prior month and very similar to this time last year as well. And our budget capacity report reflects a correction from the prior month, very little activity on that report this month. And food services, the food services reflects a net loss of $217,000 through February. This is less than anticipated in the budget, but it's more than last year because, as you know, last year we were providing meals, free meals to all students, and that was federally funded program at a higher rate than what we are under this year. Daily participation is slightly up compared to January, with an average of 1,903 meals, and then compared to 1,872 in January. So we are still inching up on those meals, so that's great. And that is the last page of our February financial report. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you. The best part of these types of meetings are our school reports. And so we have Cederhome Elementary that will be not only providing us with a school report for the board, but also a shining star at the end. So we will turn the time over to
Right, good evening. I'm incredibly excited to get to be here this evening and share some amazing things that are happening at Cederhome. So to get us started, as you know, the promise has really guided a lot of our work throughout the school year. I think a huge piece for us is thinking around that prepared for the future of their choice and really thinking of each of our individual kids and how we can support them as they are moving forward through their school career. So to get us started last fall, this is just a little recap of what we committed to as a staff for what we wanted students to do throughout the year. When we think around math, we really have had a focus on number sense concepts. For ELA, demonstrating the ability to use a variety of strategies to comprehend text, and then thinking at that MTSS multi-tiered system of support level, thinking around academic and social emotional behavior growth through access to tier 1 core instruction. We are at a fun time of year to get to reflect as a staff around what our students have been involved in, right, as we hit March. Our students at Cederhome have been engaged in number talks, and I'll share a little more about that here in a couple of slides within their classroom, which has allowed them to explore a variety of ways to solve math equations as well as explain their math thinking. For ELA, Our students have been engaged in instruction, specifically around phonics and phonological awareness. That has been one of our focus components when we think around supporting kids. And then thinking at that MTSS level, a couple of things up there that you can see. I think one of the pieces for us has been collaborating around common experiences for our kids through our Character Strong, as well as classroom lessons with our school counselor and looking at our PAC supports as well. Also part of that AAP work in the fall was talking around what we as staff are going to commit to doing. And a huge part of that for ELA was improving our own instructional strategies around phonics and phonological awareness. And also working on our assessment fluency ourselves. What the assessments our kids are taking, what does that show us, and how best to support. When we reflect here for March, we know our Cederhome staff has been engaged in grade level data conversations with some embedded PD in that to help them in moving forward. And we have also tried on a new practice for teaching phonics and phonological awareness. Thinking around that math piece, back in the fall, we committed as a staff to utilize number talks across all classrooms at Cederhome. And since then have worked on creating a structure for that. We have tried on number talks in every classroom at Cederhome and have engaged in some individualized next steps for improving our work in that area. So back in the fall and thinking around that MTSS piece, we wanted to commit to having conversations around what tier 1 would mean, both for academics as well as social, emotional, and behavior supports. You can kind of see there some of the things that we have engaged in since the beginning of the school year, defining what that was going to be for us, and really reflecting on our work around that. Okay, when we think around monitoring, so we, like I shared at Cederhome, have been diving into assessments and really thinking around what they show us about our student learning and next steps, and a variety of things there for that multi-tiered systems of support piece. As we think around implementation of school-wide norms, taking a look at our classroom schedules, thinking around where we are providing that access to tier 1 instruction for all students, as well as a handful of other ones that are up there as well. All right, I did hear from somebody in my household that I don't take quite as good of pictures as they might, but that I thought, to me, really capture a story for us around our work for number talks. That first one there, we have had a chance as a staff to really model for each other what a number talk might be, walk through that as learners ourselves. That's been a great way for some leadership pieces to fall into place. That middle one there, that is an example of a number talk in one of our second grade classrooms. And so showing how we might put a problem up for our kids and really capture our kids' thinking. And that way kids get to see how other students in the classroom are also solving those problems. And that last picture there, I love, it's a kindergarten number talk example. You can kind of see some writing over to the far right. That's how we are kind of capturing and really giving our students a voice of their mathematical thinking there. Here are some pictures just when I think around our work in that tier 1 component. That picture on the left, that was a beginning conversation we had in the fall around, okay, what was tier 1 going to mean for us? And I love some of those words up there, right? All students, access, engagement, some of those things that were going to be really important to us at Cederhome through the year. That middle picture is some common expectations that we worked on putting in place in each classroom. And I think that last picture there really captures what we're hoping for, right? In that piece of that, it's a 4th grade classroom. They were involved in a Socratic seminar around an ELA topic. And I just think such a beautiful picture of getting all kids involved in that and having access to that core instruction. A couple of visuals. So when we think around our Ames web and thinking, this really shows, I think, some of that progress we're making when we think around phonics and phonological awareness. As you see from fall to winter there, that's for kindergartners to celebrate, as well as 1st grade. And then that last one there for 2nd grade. So lots to celebrate and think around when we think around the work so far. And then thinking around next steps. So that says CEC and it says, should say CES. So, math and English and language arts areas, thinking around, still thinking around that assessment and data piece and thinking around, how do we truly know that what we're putting into place, that we're making growth? I think that will be ongoing conversations for us. For that multi-tiered systems of support piece, really thinking about our scheduling. We have talked around how we might make some shifts to our master schedule for next year, just to support the work that we're doing and provide access for all of our students.
So is a number talk an opportunity for students to explain how they come to the answer?
Right, yes. So we talk around, it is a time to take away the paper and the pencils and just really process through and a kiddo being able to share how they come upon an answer and really validating that there are lots of ways to get there and being able to have that dialogue around that.
So does that work best if you set ground rules about how this conversation happens in advance?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have talked about that, just what that might mean for setting norms in the classroom around how do you listen, how do you be an attentive listener, how might you ask questions of your classmates after they share something. So that's been a great moving them forward in their conversation pieces as well as that math and thing.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Just an observation. I could be wrong, but I think I see Cindy Wilfong's beautiful penmanship in one.
That is true. Yes, definitely.
I see it a mile away. While school presentations are a great part of our time together, the best part is Shining Star. So I'm gonna hand it back over to you.
Yes, absolutely. So we have a very special Cederhome Elementary student here today, Mr. Whitaker Warbes. Whitaker, do you want to come on up, bud? Look, and you need to come up with mom too. You can come up as well. So we, Whitaker, when we talked as a staff around who we might want to recognize today as a shining star, Whitaker was mentioned by many of our staff members. Whitaker is new to Cederhome and he has just become an amazing part of our school community. So Whitaker's teacher is not here this evening, but she asked that I would share a little bit about Whitaker. So she shared Whitaker is an outgoing, creative first grader. He loves to make others around him laugh, and he enjoys sharing stories about his hobbies, which include basketball and swimming. And he has been such a positive addition to our classroom culture, which she said a huge congratulations to Whitaker. And then I had another staff member share that he is a student with an amazing style and great perseverance. And he always has a smile on his face and is such a wonderful kiddo. And Whitaker, we just want you to know how loved you are at Cederhome and how important you are for our school community. So we're glad we get to recognize you.
We do have some gifts and we'd love to kind of gently, in a non-scary way, make our way towards you, Whitaker's family. Here you go. I'll go one time and take a picture.
Yeah. So I have this really great little kitty bag, it looks like there's a water bottle, and I'm not sure what else is in that. So congratulations.
They're gonna hang this up in your school, so everybody can see you the Chinese one.
Get my chance. Are you want to smile?
Thank you for that. But Deborah also has some pretty cool glasses, so if you have the chance to see those on the way out. There's one additional item on our superintendent's report this evening, and that is the introduction of a new principal. So I am going to read a little bit about Mr. Washington, and then I might hand it off to Christine. I thought I saw you. Oh, there. So I'm gonna do the introduction. So the Stanwood-Camano School District is proud to announce that Mr. Mike Washington Sr. will become the next principal of Stanwood High School effective July 1st. Mike Washington has worked in public education since 2010, quickly becoming an instructional leader, training staff in new teaching strategies, implementing educational practices aligned with school improvement plans, and mentoring new administrators. Mike intentionally sought out the principalship at Stanwood High School. He believes his skills and experiences will support SHS now and into the future. He has served as a teacher, a coach, a high school administrator, and since joining Cascade High School in Everett in 2019 as an assistant principal and athletic director. He has led teachers to improve programs and processes, accommodating students to reach academic success and problem solving to create new procedures with outstanding results. Mr. Washington has helped an on-time graduation team to support all students and to help them stay on schedule to earn their diplomas on time. He has led efforts to reduce and address harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Additionally, Mr. Washington has directed school-wide safety and security programs, led an equity team, and participated in multi-tiered systems of support. Before launching his career, Mr. Washington served 20 years in the U.S. Navy. Mr. Washington holds a master's degree and a principal certification from Seattle Pacific University, a special education teaching credential from Seattle Pacific University, go Falcons, and a bachelor's of science degree in business administration from Southern New Hampshire University. He lives in Burlington with his wife, Rebecca, who is here this evening, and they have 2 grown sons and a daughter-in-law. Mr. Washington is joined tonight by his wife and his in-laws. So please join me in welcoming Mr. White.
A huge asset of all kinds of things. And one of the things, it's hard after being the principal at the high school for 17 years to turn over basically what's been my family for those 17 years. But Mike and I have had a chance to work together the last few weeks, and I told him I have to take 17 years worth of it. I'm really excited for him to have this opportunity to replace me there, and he'll do a really good job.
Thank you both. And lastly, before I hand it back over to Director Murray, if you are here for the Cederhome presentation or for Mike's announcement and you would like to leave, you may do that. That's up to you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we have one more item. So I would like to thank you for that. Tune us to our reduced educational program plan. Close mine out. Okay, I'm aligned. And what I have asked Ruth to do is to share with you a few slides that are just another way of looking at the information that you have in the reduction education plan in the consent agenda. So this is not new information. This is just another way to sort of visualize and do some comparisons between the data that you have had with you in the last several days. So I'm going to turn it over to Ruth, and we'll have an opportunity for questions at the end.
Hello again. And I appreciate the time to go through our reduced educational plan. We needed a plan to balance our 2023-24 budget, and that includes a potential $8.5 million in reductions. We've summarized the broad areas of reductions, totaling that dollar amount. This is a model that will flex over time as we receive more information on current and future year revenue and expenditures, as well as impacts from the current year legislative session that won't be complete until April 23rd. So if we can move on to the first section. The first group of reductions includes district office administration in the amount of about $1 million. About 700,000 of that is the elimination of district office administrator positions, as well as reduced salaries and benefits going forward. The elimination of district office, a district office classified non-represented position, and reduction of some administrator work days, as well as days and hours of some staff. The other option, the other item there on the district administration is some district-wide department budgets in the amount of about $349,000. Where we can reduce in MSOC or material supplies and operating costs, that's the first place we want to go for reductions. And then for school administration, which is on the next slide, this mirrors quite similarly to the district office administration. There are fewer reductions though at the school administration side in the number of positions, but the salaries and benefits, there are also reductions there on the principal side. Reduction of school-based administrator days as well. And then school budgets in their discretionary funds as well as their building budgets. That totals $520,000. And then for certificated staff, there is a potential reduction of up to 39 FTE positions. Now, keep in mind that these are positions, not necessarily reduction in force. That is something that can be modified based on numbers of resignations, retirements, etc. And then we always also on each slide, we want to be sure to reflect the impacts of all of these reductions. We do realize that there will be a reduced level of service to students, parents, and staff on all these reductions, and it is not taken lightly. We want to be sure to let you know that we've angst over all of these reductions, and we just want to make sure that we do what we need to do to balance the budget next year, and at the same time be cognizant of the impacts of that. Classified staff as well, we have a reduction of potential positions, days and hours, and other salary reductions in the amount of 1.6 million. Again, want to highlight that those impacts. And then we have some other material supplies and operating costs, some service costs in the teaching and learning area. We will be eliminating some consultants. We'll be consolidating open doors program to one that is cost neutral to the district. We will be also reducing some special services contracts that adds up to about 400,000. We'll be realigning some categorical and grant program costs to save some funds, and then we will be adjusting the summer and extended learning opportunities using some categorical costs to help fund some of that as well. Those total about $1 million. And then in the activities and athletics areas, there's about 140,000 reduction. That's a combination of reduction of some travel and uniform costs, as well as some non-athletic costs that we hope. There have already been some reductions this year. The hope is that those will continue into next year, and the impacts won't be too high, but there could potentially be some reduced opportunities for participation. If booster clubs or ASB would like to pick up some of those costs, then they could do that. So this is a slide to just show you that the reductions in each of those areas helped us get to that $8.5 million that we need to balance the budget next year. And we hope that we can answer any questions that you have, and I'm happy, Dr. Rumbaugh and I are happy to do that.
To thank the staff for keeping the promise in front of you as we went through all this hard work. I was kind of with 90% of our budget going to salaries and benefits now. Last year, I was expecting kind of a bigger hit there, and I'm thankful that you could find other creative areas to limit the impact in the classroom. Thank you for the work you've done.
We are a service organization, and that means that most of our budget is in salaries and benefits. And but as much as we can, we try and avoid that.
And I would just add, regardless of our attempts to make reductions in such a way that we try to not impact the classroom, that's not possible. And I want to acknowledge that as the case that there are impacts to students. And we, while 8.5 million is significant, we are not in the same place that other districts are that are having significantly greater cuts. And so sometimes that context is helpful, but it does impact not only students, but individuals that we do.
And this would still be subject to change depending on what the legislature does.
Correct. Yes, as I said at the beginning, our anticipation is that this will flex as we get more information, and we will keep you informed on those changes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes.
Dr. Rumbaugh, we will now move to the consent agenda. Anyone in attendance may speak to the items contained in the consent agenda at this time. If you're attending on the Zoom platform, please use your Zoom raised hand feature so that we can invite you to speak. Are there any board members that would wish to pull any item on the consent agenda for discussion? Are there any people in the audience that wish to speak to any of the consent items? I believe we have a student, Brock Berryman, who is lined up to speak to a consent agenda item.
So Brock, before you begin, we want to kind of orient you with our light on the side. So it is set for 3 minutes. So you'll, at about 1 minute remaining, you'll see a yellow light, and then there'll be a red light with a little buzzer. You can finish your sentence.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Dr. Hi, my name is Brock Berryman. I'm a senior at Rumbaugh High School. I've been in this district my whole life. I'm 19 years old, and I'm not going to pretend to know about budgets and financial spending because I don't, but I can see how it affects students. I go to school every day and I see the look on my teachers' faces. They're worried. They're afraid. I'm hearing rumors of classes up to 35 kids next year. I'm hearing about special services being cut. I have a developmentally disabled nephew, and I'm worried about him in the future. I've seen it throughout my whole life. I'm on an IEP. I've seen cuts to that in my whole life, and it's been detrimental to my learning and to the learning of my fellow classmates and to the well-being of my teachers. And I don't know how to fix it, but it's not fair. And as someone who would love to be an educator when I go to college, it worries me. I have teachers who they're freaking out. I have students who are freaking out. We're at Lincoln, we're getting more kids than I've ever seen, which tells me there's a worrying that's going on just out of our school. And I don't know how to fix it, but I just wanted the opinion of the student to be heard, because I'm going to be gone in a few months. There's nothing I can do there. And, you know, my principal is so busy with administrative duties, I don't ever see him. I see him maybe once a week. And that can be really tough, because it feels like our opinions and voices aren't as heard as much as they should be. And I have teachers who are fantastic and phenomenal at what they do. And I can tell they're anxious. And a lot of them are tired. And that's all I really have. I just wanted to come and speak my piece, because I know I don't know how you guys get student input, and I just wanted to come and say that. That's really good. So, yeah, Sean, great.
And Brock is a member of the student superintendent leadership team, with a very strong voice, that's just essential and valuable. So thank you, Brock, for taking the time to be here tonight.
Nida, were you wanting to speak to your consent agenda? Okay. So I'm Nida Goldstein.
My name is Nida Goldstein. I live in Everett, but I am an employee of yours. I have been for this is my 25th year. I teach out at Elder Bay, and I'm the president of the Stanwood-Camano Education Association. I had not planned to speak tonight. My plan was to sit, hopefully fill this room, which I think we did with the help of our PSC colleagues.
It's finally warm in this room.
Great. And we didn't want this really devastating decision to be made in absence of our presence. It's really, it's a big deal. And we wanted you to know how big of a deal it is. Our hearts are all impacted. You're talking about 39 FTE for certificated staff. That's the section behind me. And each of those people has between 20 and 140 students that won't walk in their doors. These aren't the actual people, but they represent the people. And those kids and those teachers, it's just going to be devastating for all of us. Our classified staff partners, our brothers and sisters in PSE, and the hours that you're planning to cut. The teachers and the classified staff in our school district are closest to students. We are closest to the educational program, and any cuts to us is a cut to our kids. So I guess the other thing I wanted to say is I've spent quite a few meetings questioning the budget, speaking with Dr. Rumbaugh, speaking with Ms. Floyd, who's amazing, and just trying to understand a budget is a prioritization document. It has you put your money where your priorities are. It's a plan. But I do not believe, based on my experience and the numbers that do not lie, that this district needs to cut as deeply as you are planning to cut. There are millions of dollars in capacity that are built into your budget. And those millions of dollars could help stave off some of the deepest cuts that you're planning to make. And I really hope that you'll consider that. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, everyone who spoke tonight. This is not easy for any of us. We all are feeling what you guys are feeling, so, I just want to say thank you for being here tonight and giving us a visual of who we work for. So, that being said, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Was approved by Director Shriver and seconded by Dr. Bays. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. It's very almost considerate. Yes. So we are moving on to public comment. Citizens wishing to address the board are asked to submit online requests using the public comment link or email 2 hours prior to the board meeting starting time. For those attending the meeting in person, request forms are available in the boardroom for submission prior to the meeting starting time. Citizens who wish to provide documents to board members will hand them with the recording secretary for distribution after the meeting. The board president will call upon individuals who have requested to speak during the public comment section of the agenda. Individuals will state their name for the record and be allowed 3 minutes to speak. And I believe we have one public comment this evening. Mary Beth Fisher.
Thank you. Some of the questions and what I have here has already been addressed, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because some of these have got comments from coming to me as a former board member. So I'm a concerned citizen of the district. I'm a grandmother of 2 currently in the district. And I was on the Stanwood School Board for 8 years, through some very tremendous, turbulent times. And I was also on the board in the last financial crisis, and that is why you have a savings account, is because we put that into policy. And so my comments I'm going to pose, I do not expect answers tonight, but I think it's important to let you know what I'm hearing as a former board member when people call me. And I tell them to call their board members. I don't know whether they're hearing or not. So the rumblings I'm hearing in the community, I get a sense there's a lack of trust of our current administration. I find this very troubling because being on the board the last time, we had a mistrust of the administration. And it took a lot of time to get that back. And you don't have that time. You're going to have to pass a levy coming up. So some of the things I've been hearing is how many new hires has the district done in the district staff of the building administration since June of 2021. The past administration was extremely conservative on hiring district staff at the level. There was not a deputy superintendent. There was one administrator overseeing special ed, one for curriculum, and no PR position. Should those have been cut prior to waiting this year? Were they budgeted for when they were hired? If you knew there were changes to the upcoming funding, why would administrative costs and staffing programs be increased in the last 2 years? I also have heard, and this is close to me because I'm like, oh, that the budgets were cut in the schools for, they had budget cuts because the levy failed. Wasn't the levy a capital levy for the facilities and technology that was, you know, whether that's factual or not, you need to know that's what they're hearing and that's what's being said. So that's concerning. And then I would just, I think the community would like to know, the high school came under budget, is my understanding. So there should be some bond money left. How much bond money is left and where is that going to be spent? Because the district has always taken a hard line that what was in a levy or what was in the bond, that's all it was going to be spent for. And if it was going to be moved because it had to be moved for particular reasons, they were very open and letting the community know. And I'm not hearing that, and I work in the community. So that's alarming. I think we've got a communication breakdown, and I just wanted to share those. And then lastly, I want to say the district's goal should always be to keep the money close to the classroom. And I'll end on that note. Thank you.
Does take to heart the comments that were made today, and the superintendent has made notes to follow up in the future. We are now moving on to school board discussion. We have revised policy 1250 on the agenda for today. We made the edits discussed in our February 21st meeting, and those are reflected here in the policy attached. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, or thoughts about the revision to policy 1250 as attached?
So it says expected to attend all board meetings.
We wouldn't change what you agreed to this year.
And what do you mean by trainings?
So we have opportunities for different trainings throughout the year. And so those trainings, or, you know, there's a convention, there's the legislative days where we go down and lobby down in Olympia. Those are all different opportunities that, you know, are available for you to participate in, and that we'd like to see, hopefully, more of our student reps take advantage of.
And I'll be starting next year.
Correct.
And that would be considered, that would be an option.
Yeah. So are we comfortable in moving it on to the second reading? Well, now we are moving on to student advisory reports. Who's going first, Stacy or Hunter?
I would just like to get on here and say that as a student, I'm hearing the budget changes are super hard on me, especially with, I think it's for all students in the school district. I consider it part of this to that. And being able to ASB that as well. Recently at the high school, we hold our ASB elections. Two of our newest officers are in the room. Our new ASB president, Matthew Mendez, is right there in the orange shirt. And our new ASB treasurer, Isla Hollingsworth, is with the Our ASB executive officer team is really looking forward. We're going to take one of our main goals is to look really deeply into budgets next year for the high school ASB account, and then also we're going to look very deeply into activities and activity focused as well. We are also excited we are going to have Aaron Jones back into the building in April, and we're going to continue our work with her soon. And on behalf of all students at Stanwood High School, welcome Mr. Washington, and we are super excited to have him.
Aren't you elected this one next year as well?
Yes, and I am excited to be continuing my role as student life.
Hello, I'm Jason from Lincoln, and, yeah, with the same thing, we'll do the same with the, budget changes. I mean, I could be the same person saying the same thing, everyone's saying, like, yeah, it's been affecting everyone, and, I've been hearing stuff from teachers saying, well, it's not too good, but I'm not gonna be that person, just repeat the same, thing, so I'm just gonna, and just say stuff that's going on with Lincoln. So Lincoln coming up, we got a spring social that we have every year. We have 2 spring socials. It's pretty much a dance for our students to get to know each other and just have a good time. And we love doing stuff like that. It's coming up on April 14th from 6 to 8. Pretty excited about that. We also have a philanthropy breakfast on March 31st at the Camano Center. I'm pretty excited for that. I believe I'll be attending there, so I'm pretty excited for that. We also had some leadership students at ASB, students, go to the Elementary School Science Fair to be judges. And I appreciate Elementary to give us that opportunity to go back to our elementary school science fair and see everything. I personally didn't get to have a science fair, so going there, it was a really fun experience to see everything. It was awesome. We also had, 2 people from Push to talk about that came to our school, talk about equity in our schools. I got to be in that conversation and talk about how we can make our schools more equitable in different aspects. And John and Tony were very good. I know what they're talking about, but I appreciate them to come in and hopefully they come back and talk more about what's going on. Thank you. Any questions?
So we'll move on to items brought up by board members. Director Kevin.
I wanted to just thank everybody for being here. We had a chat with the board with Miranda last week, and I believe mine is coming up at the high school next week. We look forward to the opportunity to talk with community members that may want to come and chat. And we've already beat our record for how many came the last time, so I had 1 come last time, so I'm hoping. Yeah, I think Al had the record. Last week. And you had 6, which is the record. So I'm hoping that community members will take the opportunity to come and chat about whatever they would like to chat about. I'm excited at the Stanwood-Camano Area Foundation. We had 148 students apply for scholarships this year, up from 106 last year. So that's exciting. So we're ready to give some money away. Welcome, Mr. Washington.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came tonight and how much I appreciate how much you love this community and especially the children in this community. I'm grateful for you to be here and also the people who are listening to me.
I wanted to say thank you to the presenters tonight, to Kim and Ruth and Nat, and for the others that spoke. It's great to see young people on the superintendent's meeting team there and our advisors from the Working High School team that will be here. Congratulations to our shining star there. And say welcome to Principal Washington and your family. And we look forward to great things.
In the spirit of reiterating, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. We will continue to keep the community updated as new information from the legislature comes in, and the work isn't done this evening, and there's more to come. So we look forward to communicating those updates.
And I also want to say thank you all for coming, because, you know, this shows how important our schools are. Yeah, these decisions that we're making right now are really, really, please know that we are really serious about how important these are and what's most important. So, and with that, I am going to end the meeting.